I'm standing outside one of my very, very famous places. This is Brisbane's Suncorp Stadium, formerly known as Lang Park. And I remember coming here as a kid. My dad would bring me down from Toowoomba and we'd watch those famous Valley sides play. And one of my real favourite players in those golden years when they played in 6 successive grand finals between 1969 and 1974 was a guy called Gill, who was this glamour player of the era. He was this flamboyant, he was a handsome young strapping lock who really made a big impression during a wonderful side that included people like Scanlon and Retzless and Hughie O'Doherty and Big John McCabe and Ross Strudwick. It was a wonderful side.
Growing up, all he ever wanted to do was play for Valleys. He started playing for Valleys when he was 14. I think it actually drove my grandmother insane hearing it all the time, how much he actually wanted to play for Valleys. But I think it was the feeling, like the diehards feeling and the not giving up sort of attitude that Valleys has, which is why he wanted to play.
What can I say about Jeff? Unbelievable player, young fellow. I think he played in 5 first grade grand finals before the age of 25. He was a very fit person. He was a clean living bloke.
Sometimes to go to work, he had a surf ski, that he would take up the river. So he would ride it up the river or ski it up the river to work and then ski it home. And sometimes also too, he would swim across the river from Bulimba over to Newstead Park and run up to training as well. So I think he was pretty fit.
He was just a tremendous football player. He really was.
I'm pretty sure 1970 was his highlight. I think it was everyone's highlight though. They won out of not winning for quite a while. And he always used to talk about Normie Clark's conversion. But we used to watch, Dad used to have the beta video games of the 1969, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74 grand final. And we used to watch them over weekends and sometimes even just for fun. Sometimes I used to be able to pick which year I was able to watch, and I do remember never really wanting to pick 1972, and I think it's because they didn't win.
Breaking 2 tackles on the resumption, Gill takes play almost to halfway. As Valleys take the offensive, Hughes powers through.
Jeff left a big impression on a lot of people because he was a wonderful gentleman and he was very popular. And then he ended up going up to my hometown, Toowoomba, and left a real impression up there as a captain coach at South and of Toowoomba when in 1979 they emulated the great feats of 1925 when the Clydesdales beat a Great Britain side. Jeff Gill did it again with his team in 1979.
Dad worked for AK in Toowoomba. This is when he first moved to Toowoomba, and then 4GR. So most of his rugby league career while he was in the 80s when he was playing for South and captain coaching Toowoomba. He was an advertising sales representative for 4GR, and then he finished at the Toowoomba Chronicle in advertising as well. So, and it really suited him.
First time I ever met your dad was with Hughie O'Doherty. Both of them no longer with us, so sad. From what I've read, he suffered with this for about 20 years.
About 20 years, so when he was about 42, he was diagnosed with it. But I think he had it longer than that. Because,
is that right?
Yeah, well, he wasn't feeling 100% and both of his lungs collapsed, which is part of the disease. And I just remember having dinner and it was really hard for him to swallow. And I think you may have noticed his eyes, they were really droopy. So that was the main sign as well. And I remember one day him hanging the clothes out on the line and his arms just stopped working. So just little things like that. But then the next day he was able to hang the clothes out on the line.
Everybody's different and every day and every year is different. Rest is one of our key treatments because it's affecting the transmitters at the neuromuscular junction. So it's like putting cookies in the cookie barrel, and how many can you take out at one time before you top them up? It's interesting though, because I need to get loaded with the medications and things first thing in the day, and I actually pick up a bit of steam as I go through the day and get warmed up. But many people say that they wake up feeling refreshed, and then it's a downhill run after that. So it's a real talent to manage how you use rest and to jump in early, to let the body restore and put a few more of those bickies back in that barrel for you to drain them.
And it's not hereditary. It's like it just drops from the sky and picks somebody. So it doesn't matter whether you're female or male, or if your parents have it or if your grandparents have it. It just happens. How many people actually have the disease in Queensland, do you think?
We think around 500 in Queensland, and we have a slightly higher than average collection because it's a heat-affected condition. So our hotter temperatures, you'll find solid representation. Townsville, Cairns, Mackay. So the association goes all over Queensland, trying to seek out and support people and bring them together. For our 30-year celebration, we've got some light-ups happening around Queensland.
We really do.
Yeah. So we started a small selection last year and the Story Bridge was lit up, but now we've gone right across the state.
You know, Dad absolutely lived and breathed rugby league, so his main excitement was coming to Brisbane for reunions or going to the State of Origin or Queensland games as well. So he would organise his medication around that for even weeks leading up to that, so he could drive down from Toowoomba and so he could have energy to go to the events as well. So he would always make sure that his mother, my nana, who I absolutely love, was involved, and she knew what time he was leaving Toowoomba, what time he was arriving, what time to have food available or ready for him when he arrived in Brisbane, what time he was going to the game the next night, what time he'd be home from the game, and then he'd probably stay 3 or 4 nights in Brisbane and then drive back to Toowoomba as well. So it was a weekly event to come down for one game.
What are your memories of your dad as a young, healthy man?
I have memories of going after school to footy training with him and running all the men up the hill harder than what he would have if they were hungover. Or hard it is having Jeff Gill as your father. You've got so many high expectations to live up to. He was just good at everything. He was a male model for Maya. He worked at Maya. I've got a few photos as well with the bell bottoms and the nice square watches. He walked past the hairdressing salon in Maya, all the girls would stand at the door and look at him.
That bond that we got there between those blokes that we were lucky enough to play with each other, and you know, it's priceless. You can't put a price on. You know, it was a family, a close-knit club, and you know, it was just those days they were priceless. You know, they were just incredible.
Valleys just has a really, I don't know, it's more of a family feeling. You do really feel connected and part of a family. It brings me joy to come in and see them, especially at that time of year. Is around about the time of year that Dad passed away as well. So then to come into the reunion and see all of his mates that I've always heard about, that are always really welcoming, it brings me so much joy. I love that I've got a big whole other family, and I really get great joy out of still being part of Valleys, even though Dad's not here anymore.
So his achievements as a rugby league footballer, he played for Queensland, he played for Brisbane, were incredible, but he is remembered most by his really, really good mates as a kind gentleman, but a busy footballer.
He lived and breathed rugby league. He loved it. He was so passionate about it, but he was really good at it. I learned how to play rugby league before I learned how to do my fingernails or anything else, so but I'm proud of that.
And who will ever forget him scoring the winning try in the 1970 grand final in extra time to secure Valley its first premiership since 1957. Great result. Jeff Gill, very much the hero of that afternoon, right here at Lang Park, or as it's called now, Suncorp Stadium, Dad.
He had the best sense of humour.
Did he?
And you know what? He loved me. And probably the strongest one that I tell all of my friends is he would just, heavy-handed, as we all know, he would just always pat me on the back, which I thought it was more of a hit, and it was just you and me against the world, kiddo.
I don't know how and don't know why, but I'll be toasting all my life.
I was just his wingman, I guess.